I'd love to know, is it different when you host like a, let's say, a member guest or a fun event compared to like a club championship? Like the feel of the event with your staff, with, the activations that go on. How do you kind of adjust your planning and preparation for the stuff?
Yeah, for us, I mean, we try to treat every event like it's a major, right? So like the feel and the experience we're trying to provide is just as best as we can possibly do. Now, you're correct in saying that each event's going to have a different layer as far as who's coming on property. For instance, like an outside event, it could be we've hosted the Canadian Amateur, we've hosted Canadian Open Final Stage Qualifier. We know that type of player who's coming on property. We need to be prepared for them. If it's a corporate event, right? Like there's a much more fun vibe. Some of these people, this could be the first time they've ever golfed. They've almost likely never been to the property. There's going to be a pretty big mix of those people. So it's mostly just about anticipating their needs and then communicating that with the team as to what to expect. Like a member, this is their home course. They all know where they're going. They know the logistics of the property. For hosting a corporate event for an outside party, they don't know where the washrooms are. They don't know where to park. They don't know where to go. So we have to anticipate that component, and that makes them feel a little more welcome. So that's maybe the layer that would be different in our communication for those things.
And just to complete what Tyler was saying, when it's an outside event or corporate event, one thing you could do, or we're doing, is you send to the person in charge of that event, the outside event, send them a plan of the course, where the washrooms, the clubhouse, the rules of the clubs, every details that guests will have questions about. So when they come on property, they know where they're going already. So all the info we can send prior to the event, better it is, and smoother it's going to go on property as well.
Do you guys like experiment with fun, different formats at all? Like, do you switch things up year over year and try new things, different, team formats or alternate shots or scrambles? Like what, or is it kind of like rinse and repeat every year? You have your event calendar and they're mostly stroke play.
Well, if we talk for us at Pine Grove, being private, it's a lot of the same events. It's been like that for years, but every year we try to add one or two events and twist it around or change the format a little bit. So, new members or members that have been there for a while see the change. We have events that, they're gonna change, like the member matches, the match plays, these championship, they don't change. But, the fun events, more the social events, the ladies and men playing the mixed events, we try to switch them around a little bit. We have an event called the pro tournament. So it's the pro and then his team. So the pros are hosting the members. So we have a lot of games on the course. Every pro's on the course and doing an activation, an activity there for the members with a little contest. Members do enjoy spending time with their pros, on the course. So that's an event where they really enjoy it. So little things like that, and switching a bit the food station that we do every year on the course for these kind of events. Members love to have food station on the course with drinks. We have our maitre d' going around in the cart, and there's a special drink of the day where it goes around and gives them to the members. So little things like that. Even if it's the same event year after year, just a little adjustment so it doesn't feel the same every time.
Yeah, we're similar to that. I mean, like your staple events, like let's call them like our flagship stuff, right? The stuff that's going to be every year. They know what to expect, like our member and our member guests. And all those things stay mostly the same in their formats. We will make small tweaks and adjustments based on like the feel of the event, but nothing big is going to change in those events. We have some fun events that, like, we kick off our season with an opening scramble and we close it with something that we call the anything goes scramble, where we turn the paintbrush into a par 3 course. And it's kind of like a superintendent's revenge. There's some challenging, holes and setups and stuff like that out there. But one thing we do with those events is we make them a mixer event. And what that means for us is that they sign up as individuals, and we try to pair them up with people based on that, so that we're not getting teams of 4 signing up. The social component to the fun events is a very important part of the club. You want people to get away from their little cliques and start to meet each other, and they'll realize they're actually like-minded people, and it creates a better culture for the club. So we try to use those fun, light competitive events like that for that. We found that's very valuable. And then, with those events for us specifically, you touched on it a little bit, is like the social component of that event is oftentimes way more meaningful than the competitive part. So we focus on that, the social component. Maybe it's breakfast, it could be on course, it could be, post golf. But that's how we approach those fun events. And, we try to throw in some new ones in and around, our ladies league or our men's league. And we have a little group of seniors that get together, or a couple's kind of 9 and dine, and we'll do that for those. So that's kind of how we utilize those fun kind of events.
Awesome. We got a great question from Jeff Chambers here. Just mentioning how, obviously corporate tournaments, you're going to make some money at the club, but he's wondering if club member events run at a loss, or are they a slight moneymaker after food and beverage and pricing and all of that is calculated? And to expand on that, when you are taking in registration fees, how do you prioritize what goes into pricing or a purse if it's a professional event, and what goes into food and beverage?
Yeah, for us, it's like a break-even proposition. We build it kind of backwards out. We picture the event we want to kind of unfold. What is going to go into that? What's the gifting going to be like? What's the pricing going to be like? What's the food and beverage going to look like? We're not trying to make any money off of that event. For club events specifically, we're trying to provide an incredible experience for the members. We want them to take a memory away from that day that they can reflect back upon for years and years, right? So, we kind of split it for most events pretty close to 50-50. We put some thought into the tea gift. Not everyone's going to walk away from the prize table, but they're all going to share a nice meal. They're going to enjoy the hospitality. So we make sure that we, give that area enough love. Some events, I would say for sure, like I said, for the fun events, like we'll even, tilt that scale more into the food and beverage hospitality, those activations, than the others. As far as corporate events, I mean, that's a package that they're purchasing. They're getting the golf course for the day. There is some revenue there for the club there. We build it that way so that the club does get some revenue from that. They're taking one of our golf courses away. We're fortunate enough to have 2, so the members can play on the other one. But those are at a limited amount as well. But similarly, we balance it according to what their needs are as well, pricing and food and stuff like that.
Very good. For us at Pine Grove, the same thing. I mean, does it make sense to lose money on an event, even in a members event? So yeah, everything is planned. So we break even at the end of the day. Even it's a big event, and sometimes on bigger events we got the luck to have we got good suppliers in the business. The big names, or the clothing company. They sometimes in big events they like to come to the event. We use them. They sell their stuff on the station on the course, so that makes sales from the pro shop. That does special orders as well. That's good business for the club, and the members have a relationship with our pro shop manager during that day, and the company that's there, the supplier that supports us, and sometimes they give us a little gift that we give at the end of the day as well. So these relationships that we create with the major suppliers, don't be shy to use them. They have budget for that. They all do. So ask them.
Do you find it with tea gifting hard to come up with new ideas year over year, especially if it might be the same players competing? Do you try and switch it up every year? Do you find that there's something that gets people more excited than other products?
Well, it's a question of budget. How much how much a club wants to spend on the tea gift. Because it's easy to give a little gift, for a couple bucks, but it's fun to give a good gift, but it's a lot of money. So it depends on the event. The major events like the ladies guest, they gave a good gift. They have a bigger budget for that. But smaller events, it's a bit tougher. So it comes back to the same gift, or close to every year. You have to make the difference on the course with the games, or at night during the evening, if you have random draw for gifts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it can be a challenge. You have to get creative, right? And you have to kind of come up with ideas. And we meet as a group and we try to kind of discuss different ideas and try to make it unique for each event. And like you said, some events are going to have a bigger budget, and the bigger that dollar is, it's going to be a little bit easier to work within that. But if you've done the events for years and years and years, you start to run out of ideas. And these are all golfers, so for us, sometimes your first thought is always to make that gift be about golf, right? And everybody might not need a wedge, everybody might not need a new pair of shoes, so you got to be careful at what you pick, and sometimes look outside of that to make sure that, you're giving them something they may use, even if it's not golf related, and sprinkle that stuff into your season as well. So it can be a challenge, but we get together and we actually get excited about it. And, we talk to our suppliers and figure out what's new and interesting out there that we would be, proud of giving out to the members.
Brendan, can you still hear me or not?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, just adding to that, we've really looked at the post golf thing. We've added an old fashioned station and cigar bar. We thought the camaraderie after the event was just as important as it was the playing of the event and the tea gift. So that was a huge hit here last year, and the ladies want something similar. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we thought from a member guest perspective, giving them that opportunity for us to showcase the vibe and the experience of Mickelson, it's been a good way to do it as well.
Now that we have you, Miles, too, just to kind of go back to some other questions that we were talking about, and especially with the Mickelson Invitational that you've run so well the past few years. Can you just maybe talk a little bit about that event and how I think the communication part about it is the biggest thing. How you're communicating to that many participants, how you're marketing the event beforehand, and just what goes into an event of that size.
Yeah, the big thing, obviously, we created a separate website. Separate Instagram. We were able to really tackle highlighting the profile of the players that were registering, and we really focused on what the players wanted from the experience. There's a lot of these events that are hamburgers and fries, and as others have mentioned here, we really leaned on suppliers to really make a boutique food and beverage experience. We kind of went a little bit live, a little bit traditional. We had music going and a DJ, and players really fell into it. They thought it was a special event, and they just feel that if we do something for them a little bit more elevated, they're super excited to come back to it. We've done some post round stuff where we've got a KP challenge for hole-in-one for cash, same with the long drive and the putting. And the biggest thing I find is they're all competitors, but after that they're all just fans of each other, and there's nothing better than seeing a hole-in-one for $4,000 cash that's sponsored, and they're belly bumping and high-fiving. And so we really push the fun vibe, and it's really taken off.
Awesome. Good stuff. I want to move into maybe some of the not as fun conversations that you might have to have when it comes to, rules and pace of play, and that sort of thing. Because I know that a lot of member events, especially the golf pros, are the rules officials, the enforcers, managing the pace of play. So, how strictly do you manage that pace of play during the events, and how do you deal with rules situations as they come up?
For us, we'd love if pace of play in an event is going to be 4.5 hours. It's just not realistic when they're there to enjoy the day. And we take a look at it as as long as the pace problem isn't disrupting the experience of people, we'll just kind of manage it from afar. And if it ever gets to that point, then we would address it. If it's going to take them 5 hours to play, that's how long it's going to take them. They've had this date circled on their calendar for months. We're not going to rush them through it, but there is a fine line there. Whereas like the pace could be affecting people behind them, and it is affecting their day. So we watch that carefully. Rules are always going to come up, especially club championship time. If you're in your match plays and stuff like that, it could come up in member guest, and it's not always fun to deliver some bad news. But the rules are the rules, and there's a tactful approach to it. You have to understand their situation, and the team's kind of equipped to understand that and deliver that message with tact. And sometimes people are going to be upset with you, and I'm sure us as golfers, we've all had situations that aren't ideal for us. So we understand what that's like, but it does come up. Fortunately, we've never had any big blowouts or anything like that, bad situations. But yeah, we do deal with it. Not so much for member events, but club championship, it'll come up.
Yeah, additionally, we mark the course, obviously make sure it's fresh, ready to go. We do have a rules group that are there to support the event if a situation happens. Head professional is very active, kind of front, and center through those events, but generally things can go pretty smooth for those events.
Because as a rules guy myself, I would say kind of the two more important things are one, as I was mentioned, would be course marking, kind of just making sure that, especially for some of those more competitive events, like championship, that type of event, I would say just making sure that the course is properly marked. And the other thing would be rules education for maybe a bigger event like that, kind of sending out just a very brief overview. Kind of,
we have a question here that I think is a pretty solid question from Sadiq. Can you guys talk about how you get junior members involved in member events or just any juniors at your club? Do you offer volunteer opportunities? Do you offer caddy opportunities? And what kind of feedback do you get from players regarding junior volunteers and juniors being involved, maybe even playing in those men's or women's?
Well, on our club at Pine Grove, we've got a good level of juniors of different age. We do have a caddy program with some juniors can caddy if they're old enough and experienced enough. But we use juniors mainly for the club championship because the junior championship is before the main club championship. So juniors that want to volunteer, we use them for the live scoring of Golf Genius on the course. We place them at different location on the course, and they enter scores, live scoring of the members going around the course. So this way we see it on the screens on the team, and members that finish their rounds are able to watch the live scoring on TVs. The live feed. Members, we've been doing that for 4 or 5 years, and members love it. And juniors, they love it because they see some good players hitting balls, and they get free food for the day. We give them a shirt and a hat. So that's one way we're using them, and as well the caddy program. Caddy program we have that program for 3 years now. It's growing slowly, more and more rounds every year. It's a full-time job, that caddy program, but if that makes a difference, members really enjoy it, and they enjoy using that program, the caddy program with guests a lot as well. And we just, because we're talking about juniors, we have so many programs, different age. We start the young kids at 4 years old. I could talk about it for a while, but we're here to talk about tournaments. So yeah.
Yeah, we're similar. We let our juniors caddy and as much as they can for the club championship, and then we have scorers for the last 3 groups, which we let our academy team and the professionals kind of pick those that deserving to do that, and those do the same in the MNI, and it's a pretty cool experience. They get to watch some elite golf, and they really push, and we get them involved at the range, so they get to watch these players practice and how they prepare themselves for a round of golf. So it's an important piece for us here as well.
Yeah, for us, our junior program, over the past 5 years has grown a lot. I want to say started out with the majority of our kids being between the ages of 4 and 8 years old, and now they've aged up into that kind of early teen years. So as it's kind of grown, we're looking at more and more ways to implement them. And I think what you guys mentioned, having them involved with club championship, either it's like being scoring assistants and assisting standard bearers, or however you may execute that part, is a huge thing. I think that's awesome that you guys do that. And we're probably there now to be able to start implementing that with the age of our junior membership. Our juniors actually get to play in it's our fastest growing event. We have an event called the Generations Cup where, parents can play with their kids. It's just, the team has to be made up of 2 different generations. So they can be 2 adults, but to kind of showcase how fast that's grown. It started out as a 9-hole event that, some of the staff actually played with their kids because we couldn't fill the field. And this past year we closed the entire golf course for it. And now we have, a waiting list, and there's so many kids playing in this event. So junior program is growing and growing. We have summer camps and stuff like that. And I think, a great way, like you guys said, to get them involved is to have them, sit down on the range and see the club championship players warm up and maybe walk with the lead groups in the final round and do some scoring. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, we reversed it a little bit. We have caddy bibs here, so our junior championship, the parents that want a caddy, they get to be the whole deal as well, right? So it's a special thing for a parent as much as it is the kids. It's they're pretty proud to be out there supporting their child.
Awesome. Great stuff, guys. We got a question here from Chad Russ about event cancellation policy, especially when it comes to cancellation day before or day of, because that can just be tough with the food and beverage and, event planning and flighting and all of that. So, how do you deal with, someone backing out the day of or day before? And do you have a club policy when it comes?
Well, we're very strict at the Pulpit Club, honestly. Like our flagship events, we have to have a lottery for them. And so that lottery gets done in April once they've registered. And for the flagship events, that lottery is drawn in the middle of April, and they have until the 1st of May to commit to the event. And once they've committed or they're in, May 1st, they get billed non-refundable for those flagship events. For the other events, there's kind of a rolling cancellation policy. If you cancel 1 month out, it's like half of your fee back. And then as you get closer, you may lose your entire registration fee. Like to your point, the amount of planning that goes into that, gifting, there could be gifting that's related to sizing and stuff like that, right? And the food and beverage component. We're fortunate that our events are so well supported. There's wait lists for every single one of them. So if people are canceling, we want to give the opportunity to the others that truly support the events and show up and play. So we're actually quite strict with that, and that's how we roll that out.
Us, like for the bigger events, the members event, if somebody canceled, before the event, we do charge an amount for the food and beverage because the kitchen is starting working on preparation for food. So there's a fee there. For golf, there's no fee, but everything that touch food and beverage, members will pay even if they cancel.
This probably might be a quick answer if any of you know this, but this is one in particular question from Matthew about getting a liquor license on tee boxes to serve full-size drinks instead of just offering samples to people. If anyone has any experience there, maybe more of an F&B question, but if any of you know the answer to that.
I can jump in there. We make application for the event. They have to purchase all the liquor through us, and it has to be sampling and it's measured. We do only 2 liquor activations per 9, just to fit the AGLC guidelines, but no full samples. We've got around it with a couple different things, but it's we don't allow outside alcohol. It has to be purchased through us and monitored, and it's a very important piece. So it's not something we're worth risking.
Awesome. With all of you having kind of leading teams at your clubs, how do you empower your team members and other professionals at the club to, solve problems on the fly or, take on the full responsibility of, particular events?
I mean, for us, it comes down to just like trust, right? I mean, we're all experienced. You're going to have to make decisions under the gun if they're urgent. We trust each other to make that call, and we support each other. You got to communicate. If you've made a decision, make sure the rest of the team's well aware of it. At the end of the day, it's golf. This isn't a life or death thing, but we want to make sure that the decision we make is with the best interest of the group in mind. So we consider that. If we do have the ability to kind of step back for a bit and talk about it as a group, we will do that. But I think the biggest thing to empower everybody is just that trust factor, right? We all understand we're people, they're people, trust each other to make the right decision. And you learn from it. It's okay if we make mistakes. You're going to sometimes make the wrong call. I've made the wrong call a few times in my life, and you learn from that and you get better. So I think it starts with a trust throughout, top to bottom of the team, and be able to make those decisions.
Yeah, I would support that. I think when we lead a tournament out, we have our team go in reverse just to double check with everybody, all their Golf Genius stuff is working. They understand the rules, they're at the right tees. And then we basically have an additional marshal and they'll each manage a 9 just to kind of be support. But our head pro will be the point person And of course, it's, as was said before, it's all about trust and supporting the team.
Yeah, I would say a lot of it comes from kind of planning and preparation and just communication in advance. And I like to try and kind of think of as many of the things that could go wrong as possible and kind of have a plan in advance for them. But obviously, there are things that always kind of come up that are unexpected. And so, yeah, the better you can plan and prepare for things, the easier it is to make those decisions in the moment.
Awesome. Can any of you draw back on, maybe one specific event that you've run at your club that was truly exceptional, one that, members are still talking about to this day, or outside guests? And what made it so special? Like what really is the essence of, the best event that
Sorry. For us, it's our Black Sheep event. It's our flagship event. It's a men's member. And this past year, actually, Stephanie had brought into my attention that in the past at Beacon Hall, when she was there, they had done this concierge thing where, each flight had its own concierge. So there's 8 flights in our tournament, 6 teams. They play matches, right? 5 matches against each other. They do a horse race at the end. I'm sure other clubs have events like that. But what we did is we assigned a concierge to each flight. So each flight had a professional literally taking care of that flight from the start to finish. So as soon as they walked on property, they were the ones that took their team photo for the scoreboard. They took their food and drink orders. They got them their gifting throughout the day. They were there for rules. And, like when one match would end, they would get their scorecard and get them to the next tee so that they could seamlessly transition from match to match and all of that stuff. And, immediately the impact from the members was like overwhelmingly positive. And post event, that's all they were talking about. And we did that for our men's member, and the ladies obviously heard about it. And now this year we're going to do that for the ladies as well. So it's taken off like crazy, and that event is our biggest event of the year. And it's just like those little tiny things. We didn't change the event, we just add one more little layer, a little piece to it, and it hit a home run. So that's something for us.
Our own events called the Divorce Open. So you're playing alternate shot with your spouse. That's our biggest event. We get over 180 players during that day. So we have to rent card and be playing in 6 sums, but it plays fast because it's alternate shot. It's always been the biggest event, but every year we add something. But for the last couple of years, as soon as the members get on property, there's music everywhere. There's table with gifting. There's food and beverage. It's an over the head event. We do the party after the round next to the swimming pool on the outside. It's a wonderful place, and members talk about it every time. And we've been lucky; the weather's always been good, so that kind of helped. But maybe that event, people love it because it's friendly. You play with your wife and other couples. And it's friendly competition, and it's all about fun, the good weather, and booze, a lot of booze. That's why it's a good event.
I would say our ladies member guest is probably our highlight as much as the men's is, but they decorate carts, they pick a theme, they get costumes, the music's played all day long. I still have Barbie in my head. I can't get rid of that song, but we all had Canada name tags and for the males, and we had Barbie on the girls, and just we really made it a special event for the ladies, right? So each year it changes, and they'd love to have the cart the day before to decorate them, but that's where the prizes go, right? Is best decorated costumes and best decorated cart. So we just thinking out of the box a little bit and making it their event. It's personal.
I think something that I always find that stands out at events is something that's kind of unexpected that goes above and beyond. So I don't think it's always quite necessary to communicate everything that the player is going to get. Sometimes it's nice to kind of have that little surprise in your back pocket where they show up and it's given to them unexpectedly. I find those things always go a really long way as well.
Yeah, we did a dunk tank a couple years, which was all the leadership team that were up there. And the money went to the junior program, and things kind of got a little out of hand. People were paying money to put somebody up in their group to go in there, but it was correct me if I'm wrong, but it was about 25, $3,000 that went to the junior program, and it just, you can do some different things to drive some fun.
Yeah, I found the best events are when you kind of get that community feel. I remember back like at Pritis Greens, the horse race was basically seeded. So you'd have some of the best players at the club leading the club championship after the first day with, a player leading the net event, and they're playing alternate shot with, 200 members around watching. And yeah, you don't know pressure until you see a 20 handicap split over a 5-footer to keep their team alive. So that's that's what I remember best about some of those events. Got two questions here that are kind of in the same realm about your club's philosophy between the frequency of events you host, both internal and external events, and also making sure that you have the tee sheet available for your members. So, when you're seeing like tens of thousands of rounds a year and so much demand, how do you, weigh having events versus keeping that?
First of all, I think it comes to the club decision. Outside events brings a lot of money to the club, but does take days away. So the club needs to decide what they want to do. They want to get that money, or they want, they're going to need to find that money somewhere else. They're going to have to increase dues. So it depends on the club. At Pine Grove, we can host events, outside events on Mondays, like 144 players and more. So members are okay with this. We have about a limit of 17 to 20 events a year. And members have been used to it. So on Mondays, even if we don't have an event, the tee sheet is pretty empty. There's not many people coming. They've been used to do something else on Mondays. So it's part of the culture of the club for many years now. I'm sure the other clubs are different, but yeah.
Yeah, we're very cautious about that. Even though we're lucky we have 2 golf courses, but we have members that want to play golf every day. So we're very careful at. We never close both courses. I'd say never, but we never fully close both golf courses for anything. We have a limited availability for those outside kind of corporate events. And it was something that we actually really took a deep dive look at this year when we built our calendar, was trying not to overlap that so often so that there was too many days in a row where the members would lose a golf course. And that, came into consideration some conversations with the turf crew because of, aerification dates, right? If they're going to aerify at a certain time, then, that course needs time to heal in order to be able for us to proudly host an event on it. So I think we did a good job this year actually of kind of moving some things around, blending some things together to spread them out a little bit more. But like you touched on there, they're a bit of a necessary evil at times. There's, Mondays are a great opportunity to get some revenue for the club. It is a business at the end of the day, and you need to utilize some of those, avenues to get the revenue. So we're very cautious about it. There's a limited amount of them. We don't want to overload the calendar, but we have to balance it.
I can add to that if you want. Obviously, being a club that's gone fully private the last year, we had too many tournaments just trying to offset public play, green fee revenue. So we've now cut our tournament rounds by half, and just obviously leaning a little bit more on the member guest covering off that space now. So we had a good trend last year. So things will stabilize, giving more inventory for the members to play. And we'll, with the new policy, so many rounds per month, per week is where we're headed. And that will obviously lean on the members to allow us to run the business, but also make sure we need inventory for them to enjoy the club.
Awesome. Sorry, the fire alarm was just going, so my dog's going kind of crazy. Matt, do you want to chime in a little bit about like course setup and talk to the guys about how they deal with, setting up the course and the
Yeah, I think you kind of turn it into a question for the three of you, but if you have a different philosophy on your course setup between whether it's like a club championship or one of those more kind of just for fun events that we were talking about, what you kind of look for whether it's yardages or difficulty of pins, whatever the case might be in terms of course setup, just if you have a specific philosophy or not.
we're seeing a trend right now at Pine Grove, and I'm sure it's the same at the other club, but members want to play the club championship. We're doing the during the last holidays, the first week of September. So it's a 3 days event, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And a lot of members want to play it, but some of them are kind of intimidated by it because they have to post a score. So the Stableford option is used more and more. In the past was used only for the C players, ladies and men. Now last year we had even the A's playing Stableford. So this way, you make a 10 on the golf on 10th hole, doesn't matter. You got 0 points and you can keep playing. If you made a quad during a championship, usually you're out of it. But playing with the Stableford format, it kind of keep you into it, and we don't lose players. Instead of losing players after 1 round, 2 rounds, they stay. So we keep the number of players for all the tournament. That's been really useful and enjoyable for the members as well. We do keep stroke play for the triple A's, and double A's, and because these guys and ladies are a different level, and that's what they want. But yeah, listening to your membership does help, and that's an option we've seen helping us increase participation and keep that participation over the 3 days.
Yeah, I would say for us, an outside event, we move our tee boxes up, even though we tell them deck 3 will share probably 75% of our deck 4, which is a little shorter, just again, get the golf course more speed friendly. Pin positions will be kind of the back of a front pin, middle, and then of course front of a back pin, just to keep the pins more center of the greens, just to make it a little bit more playable and friendly. That's generally been our rule. And then when we get into the competitive events, we do pin sheets. We pick them in advance and share them. So we kind of do a friendly get into the event and then get a little stronger. And then of course the Sunday we keep it pretty strong, but it's fair. And club championships now, men's side is and the ladies are 3 days. So we give them a little bit better of a tournament feel rather than just a couple days. If you're out, you're out, but if you're close, you got a couple rounds to get back into it.
Yeah, for us, I mean, the course setup itself, and they're both challenging, the pulpit specifically, but there's an elevated feel to that day. The members expect the greens to be challenging. They know they're going into, hopefully face the golf course at its most challenging conditions, but we try to balance that and not make it so that that the greens are too fast and the pins are tucked and stuff like that, which can happen at the pulpit or the paintbrush, right? So we're like you guys, we have had a hard time sometimes with our club championships getting participation, right? Because not everybody's a super uber competitive golfer, and they don't want to post that number beside their name. And I love the idea of going Stableford in those flighted divisions and stuff like that to try to encourage participation. And that's things that we're looking at doing to try and increase that. The guys and the girls that come out for the club championship, they absolutely love it, and they just want to see more people coming out and participating. So I really love that idea. But yeah, as far as our championship events, we just make sure that the course is set up, like you said, to avoid rule situations. I love that you said about painting your hazards. We go over in great detail before they tee off if there's any local rules that could be in effect. Even though they're written on the back of the scorecard, they play every week and they kind of ignore them. But now this is the club championship, so at the pulpit, for instance, there's on hole number 6, there's a grave site. It's an immovable obstruction. And, I have to go over that with them every single year because somebody's going to hit it over there and they're not going to know what to do. So, just kind of going over that stuff with them, making sure they understand how the course is set up and what to do when they get certain situations to avoid any conflict that way.
And maybe a little bit to Matt's question, it seems like every club double cuts and rolls for club championship, and no one's been playing that level of speed for the season. So we do that kind of Tuesday, Wednesday to catch the ladies' night, men's night, so they kind of can get a bit of, practice in that little bit more of an aggressive speed. But it's nothing worse than seeing somebody standing over a 3-footer that's been given a gimme for the last 60 rounds and they got to make it now. So it's you got to keep it friendly out there.
What kind of software do you guys use for scoring? Do you all use like Golf Genius? Do you do live scoring for all your
Yeah, we do. We use Golf Genius as a tool. It's huge for us. Communicating, scoring, like, I mean, I was reluctant early on to switch to a digital scoreboard. When I started working in the golf business, we did, we got taught by Tim McCutcheon, and Muggsy taught us all how to write calligraphy. So, I love that. They're coming in from scoring, and you got the pen in your hand, and you're writing numbers on the board, and it feels nice. So I was really reluctant at one point to kind of switch over to Golf Genius for all of our events, but the seamlessness at which you can communicate with them and transition in from scoring into the social component at night is huge. So we utilize Golf Genius for most of our events. We do have Smart Golf for our leagues. Rob Sundstrom and the team do a great job with their league component. So we do that for our league, and it works really, really well. That's what we use.
Yeah, we use Golf Genius as well, but not for all the events. Mainly for the stroke play events and the interclub qualifiers. Apart from that, we still use the big board and calligraphy and all that. Members do enjoy that, and to bring that board on the terrace. So it depends on the event, but I'll say maybe 2/3 of the events will be Golf Genius. The other third will be big board.
Yeah, we're Golf Genius exclusively. Use it all throughout. We have a couple portable TVs we move around for viewing. We actually built last year a manual scoreboard to get away from the calligraphy, although I was good at high school. But we have a neat scoreboard that we built, kind of inspired by the Masters. And for the M&I, we had obviously the players, the amateurs, and the creator, and pretty neat to have a kind of a live scoring kind of situation that way. And it was a neat little vibe. So it'll work well for club championships and then future Canadian Am and etc. So kind of neat to have a bit of an old school character to the club too.
Mhm.
Awesome. I think we got about 10 or 15 minutes left here. So if anyone has any questions to get in, please put it in the chat now, and we'll try our best to get to them. This one's from Chris Hood. He's wondering if anyone has experience using easy locator software or any other software to determine pin positions, and if that kind of software, do you find that helps pace of play in any way?
We don't use that specifically. We have software that we use to find the pins, and our turf team will set those and give us those in advance so that we can print that. And we provide the pin sheet on the Golf Genius portal, as well as for our match plays in our club. But the more serious events, we'll give them a printed copy of that as well on the tee. I find the majority of players don't use it; they take it. Now, the people that are playing lots of competitive golf that are very familiar with a pin sheet, they may be playing in the Canadian Amateur, or maybe they're playing in those events. They use it, but not as many people use it. We do have it there for people because it's a nice added touch. But yeah, our software internally does that.
Awesome. Just to go back to a question that I wanted to ask, just because all of you have hosted, a national event in the past. So when you do have those events, when you're, seeing a lot of professionals from around the country and you're showing off your golf club, what kind of touches do you do in that situation? Like how, with the F&B, with the course, with marking? I know that a lot of the time, that's out of your hands, but what do you kind of tell your team before an event?
Hosted the PGA Championship this past summer in 2025. It was a great event for us and for our team. And that really helped in team building. So all the employees were included in that, were participating. But yeah, so our goal for that event, being a marquee event, a national event, and hosting the pros across the country, was to make them feel like they were playing a tour event. Without the crowds for sure, but. So as soon as they get on property, that we had parking lot attendant guiding them at the right spot where they had reserved parking. The small amount of people that came every day to watch them play as well, to guide them. The range, the course setup as well. Pine Grove's a tough golf course, but we let the rough push grow a little bit, so the guys can be challenged a bit more. We even built an old tee box that used to be played during the Canadian Open in 50 sorry, 64 and 69. So we opened up that tee box for the guys during that week. They played it twice, and they really enjoyed that. As well, they had a private part of the clubhouse for them to eat and relax, and private part as well on 18th. Above 18, there's a swimming pool there, so they could see 18. They could have drinks there by the sponsors. We did a big pro-am event prior to the tournament, so we had the top players playing with the sponsors or with members that registered. That money was used for the junior program and the future program we have and future golf academy that we're going to build as well. So that was a good event for the members and a lot for the staff as well. So these still small details that we did. I think the players really enjoyed that. We received a lot of good comments, so I think it was mission accomplished. And team wise, I think the main thing was team wise. All employees worked for that event, and they were so happy to do it.
Yeah, for us, I mean, hosting the Canadian Amateur, hosting the Four Nations Cup, hosting U.S. Open qualifiers or Canadian Open qualifiers. I mean, the cool thing about that is there's an opportunity. You're not running that tournament per se, right? Usually there's a third party that's come in and running the tournament, so you're kind of like the co-pilot, and it gives you an opportunity to focus in on some of the things we just touched on. There is those details that are not necessarily the meat and potatoes of running and organizing and coordinating a lot of those parts, which we do for our club events. You have an opportunity to be, a passenger or a co-pilot and be the best one you could possibly be. So those other things you can focus on, you just prioritize your energy and your focus towards that to give them that elevated feel and make them feel special. And our members love hearing the feedback from those types of players playing our golf course. They play it every single day, and sometimes they lose sight on how special the place could be. And when they have a player from Australia or New Zealand playing in the Four Nations Cup, and they cross paths with that person and they ask them about the golf course, and they talk about how special it is. They have a smile on their face and they're walking around with their chest puffed out. So, we can focus on those things and the hospitality activations, giving them that private feel and their own rooms and stuff to do all that stuff. That's how we approach it.
Yeah, we'll add to that with some things we've learned. More so somebody doesn't do in the future, but with some of our events, we've actually done individual nameplates at the range. And it was kind of pre-set up, and if I want a little bit space between me and another player, it just became a little bit of a hassle to kind of move things around. So we've kind of gone on a bit of a blended, anybody can go anywhere type thing. Lots of water, club cleaning area, just let the guys do their thing. We rope off the greens so they can have some privacy when they're practicing. Kind of a gallery area, but just give the players a lot of space when dropping down bleachers in fair areas so that it's separate enough for the players, but it's close for the viewers too, right? So it's lots of little touches you learn along the way. Brendan, you remember the wind we had to deal with the Canadian. Those aren't sometimes fun. You got to deal with.
Yeah, you never know. You might have to. I mean, luckily, I haven't been at an event in the last 4 years that has a round completely canceled due to weather, but it's something that you need to always have a contingency plan for, especially if it's, a fun member event. What are you going to do if the member guest, is rained out for 2 days, right? Like, what do you guys usually do for like contingency plans? Do you plan that for every event, or do you have a policy at the club for?
Well, like for outside events, we're trying to host them as much as we can because it's quite complicated, if you cancel the round because the food and beverage been ready for a couple days, all the mise en place. So what we do is we welcome them to the course and try to keep them, and they have the course for the day, so we can start the event a bit later if we can, and the course opens up if the weather's bad. So sometimes we do cancel golf because the course will be unplayable. That maybe happened once in the last 5 years, but what we do is we give a gift certificate for for all the players as a foursome, so they can come at least enjoy the course later during the year. And they're not really they don't get mad that they haven't played the course. They're gonna have to change the experience Pine Grove at one point during the year, and we make our revenue, so both parties are happy.
Awesome.
We do everything in our power. Sorry, yeah, we do everything in our power to get it in, but you got to have a contingency plan. I mean, like our club championship, I forget if it was 2 years ago, got completely wiped out. We did everything we could to completely get it in, and we actually had made a bit of a mistake. And on the last day, trying to get it all in, we'd sent people off both tees, but they were in the same division. So the most common holes played with them was a completely different routing. We learned from that mistake, and now we have a stronger contingency plan for that. To make sure that it's fair for everybody. I think it's just like we've touched on it a bunch of times tonight. It's like today, it's like over preparing. Think of everything, what if, and then I'll and go through that with your team. And the more minds thinking and pointing their focus at that, the solutions will come out.
All right, great. This is the last thing I'll ask, and then I'll let you guys go because we've taken up just over an hour of your time. So thank you so much for being here. But if I was going to go run an event in a month, what would be the number one piece of advice that you would give to think about that, might, something that you don't want to, get to the day of and be like, oh yeah, we didn't think about that?
For me, we try and partner with the event. I kind of give it the 80-20 rule. It's their canvas, it's their day, it's to showcase their company, their clients. So doing little things out of the box, we try and present them in advance, whether it's speed, putting. I've done break the glass, which is now kind of more of a gong thing, but we try and get 2 extra groups. So we can have basically call it 20 holes. So there's more revenue for the overall event, but also for the charity. So I find just thinking a little bit out of the box just to personalize that event is rather than just saying, here's the boxes you got to tick, and just make sure it's very personalized. So it's special to them, much like a wedding, right? So just helps elevate the experience and brings value.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, any event I'm gonna host, I think of it similarly to as if you were inviting people over to your house for dinner, right? You're gonna welcome them. So I think of it backwards that way. If someone knocks on your door to come over, you've invited them over. You're not just gonna yell from the couch, come on in if they've never been over there before. You're gonna greet them at the door, welcome them into your house. They need to use the washroom. You're gonna tell them where the washroom is, offer them a drink, offer them a snack. You gotta look at it that way, that personal touch, and identify who the person is and make sure that you're anticipating, who they are and what their needs are, and work that way so that they feel welcome and they feel like they belong there, and to set the table for them to have a good day. And I mean, it's like, you're going to, if you're going to like a live theater action show, right? And you're sitting there and the stage is there and they got the curtains closed. There's people behind the scenes that are working on setting the stage. And as soon as that curtain opens, the stage is set. You don't want to open the curtain and people are still putting the stage together. Kind of the magic becomes lost at that point. So, you got to consider all of those little things and over prepare and make sure that as soon as people come on property and the curtain opens, the magic is there. They don't need to know how it happened. They're just going to enjoy the day.
Yeah, I'm going to add to both of those points and say that 2 questions that I would have would be, how can you make the player experience as good as possible, and how can you provide the most value? So it's kind of just looking at the resources available to you and trying to figure out what you can do to give everyone the most value for playing in the event.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming and sharing your expertise today. If anybody, I think we had about over 250 people attend today, which was awesome to see. Some great engagement, some great questions. I know that Matt is looking to for 2027 and 2028 championship venues. So if anyone is interested in putting their hands up, reach out to Matt about the next 3 or 4 years. Otherwise, Tyler, Louis, Alexander, and Miles, thank you guys so much for coming today and joining us. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great learning. It's good.
See you at the show.